whether they were classed as unquestionable moments of joy or devastating sources of sadness. Each and every one of the following events all have one thing in common. They left pretty much the entire wrestling world utterly shook. But let's just keep our fingers crossed that the worst is already behind us, and every other shock to tumble out of this next year or so falls into the positive category of planet-shaking occurrence. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 recent wrestling moments that shook the world. Number 10, Omega and Ospreay put on an absolute classic. When you opt to throw either Kenny Omega or Will Ospreay onto the New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom stage, incredible things typically tend to go down. Throwing them both into the middle of the squared circle with the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship on the line, you were asking for magic, and magic is precisely what you got. Technically outstanding, absolutely brutal on occasion, and an all-round physical storytelling masterclass. It all went down inside of the Tokyo Dome on January 4th, and it led to just about every fan on the planet being forced to take time out of their day to immerse themselves in the 34-minute Night 1 instant classic. And the best part, well, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, the pair were actually holding back during what ultimately went on to become a 6.25-star masterpiece. So if you thought your mind had been blown and the game had already been entirely changed once again by the Cleaner and the United Empire leader, prepare yourself for one hell of a rematch at some point down the road. Number 9, The Rock no-shows the road to WrestleMania. Finally, The Rock has not come back. On the back of the latest report stating that the Hollywood megastar felt he wouldn't actually have time to get into tribal chief fighting shape before the upcoming show of shows, those long-rumored plans of a Rocky WrestleMania 39 in Los Angeles seem to have been definitively scrapped on the night of the Royal Rumble. Instead of the People's Champion running out as a surprise Rumble entrant and dumping the rest of the field over the top rope, or Dwayne Johnson arriving to close out the show opposite Roman Reigns as the pair stared at the Mania sign hanging high in the air, many were disappointed to find that none of that occurred at this year's event. But that's not necessarily an entirely terrible thing. It looks like The Rock just couldn't find the time, yet the door is still always open for one last match, and his missing of this year's Mania thankfully set the stage for something else that shook the whole damn planet anyway. Number 8, Sami Zayn finally does the right thing. The chair shot heard around the world. Fans knew something monumental was coming the second it became clear that Roman Reigns' undisputed WWE Universal Championship defense against Kevin Owens was going on last on a night boasting 2 Royal Rumble matches. But even those expecting another shocking development in the ongoing Sami Zayn Bloodline saga were left losing their minds completely at the sight of the honorary Uce finally being pushed too far by the tribal chief, overflowing with rich, glorious detail, from the Shield callback as Roman slumped to the ground, to a conflicted Jey Uso's refusal to take part in the subsequent battering of the traitor. There's a reason the thunderous noise that met this earth-shattering chair shot has been watched and replayed millions of times already. This was the emotional result of taking the time to actually allow a storyline and relationships to breathe on screen. And the impressive ratings that have come with easily the most compelling storyline in the business do not lie. Simply put, WWE won't be missing The Rock in the slightest this year. Fans have already been treated to the most electrifying tale in all of entertainment, and there's still time for more than a few twists and turns before the 39th show of shows. Number 7, WWE is bringing Money in the Bank to the UK in 2023. Admittedly, this one mostly shook a very specific part of the world, but the news of WWE bringing a very specific PLE to the British Isles in 2023 was something that caught just about every wrestling fan a little bit off guard. Now sure, 2022 did see the sports entertainment giant finally unleash a televised stadium show in the UK for the first time in 30 years in the form of Clash at the Castle, but WWE has taken things to another level with the news of this year's Money in the Bank actually going down in London's O2 Arena. WWE bringing what they're now trying to market as one of their new Big 5 events, adding to the lineup of Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, feels like another huge step towards one day potentially having a full-blown Mania event go down in Britannia. Should Money in the Bank 2023 go on to become as big a commercial and creative hit as Cardiff's Clash at the Castle, then perhaps a long-awaited return to Wembley won't be too far around the corner at all, eh? Number 6, Mandy Rose is fired from WWE. The news of Mandy Rose suddenly being released partway through December left many scratching their heads. Rose had been reigning as NXT Women's Champion for an age, before being bested by Roxanne Perez on the night of December 13th. With this booking decision and her release coming in the wake of the company feeling the star's content on her fan-time page had fallen outside the parameters of her WWE contract, and this odd call to suddenly fire the Toxic Attraction leader soon resulted in WWE being blasted by both fans and many members of the wrestling business. Rose appeared to have the last laugh though. Less than a week on from her high-profile departure, it was reported that Rose's page had made a staggering $500,000, with it being said that there was a solid chance she'd be a fan-time millionaire by Christmas. In other words, she's is doing just fine. Number 5, Hangman Page is knocked out cold. With the knowledge fans and performers now possess on concussions, and how serious these blows to the head can become if not handled with genuine care, the visual of Hangman Page getting knocked out cold towards the end of last year was enough to completely rock fans around the world. The second Jon Moxley's lariat connected with the anxious millennial cowboy, folks in attendance and watching at home knew this was far from some typically world-class selling from the former AEW World Champion. But in such a dark moment of shock, it must be said that AEW handled the worrying situation excellently, quickly bringing the match to an end before treating the concussed star and rushing him off to hospital to be examined. Knowing how concussions can entirely alter the trajectory of a wrestler's career, with fellow AEW star Adam Cole suffering a severe concussion and being forced to sit on the sidelines for much of 2022, people understandably feared the worst as Hangman lay motionless back in October. Thankfully, Page is now back doing what he does best, and this real-life scare has since been brilliantly and carefully infused into the rivals' ongoing on-screen war. Number 4, Jay Briscoe is taken way too soon. The news of Ring of Honor legend Jay Briscoe suddenly being taken at the far too young age of 38 on January 17th left not just the entire wrestling community in a state of shock, but much of the rest of the planet upon hearing of the much-loved worker and his daughters being involved in a fatal car accident. And it wasn't long before waves and waves of tributes and support were sent the late star and his family's way, with performers from across the industry paying their respects to a fallen brother, and the likes of WWE, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor and AEW all joining together in saluting one half of the legendary Briscoe brothers unit. In a moment as sad and unfair as this one, there is still some light to be found in the fact that the condition of Jay's daughters is thankfully improving according to recent reports, and the way the taken too soon veteran's resilient brother Mark has handled himself throughout this hugely tragic period has been nothing short of superhuman too. And speaking of which, number 3, Tony Khan pushes hard for Mark Briscoe to appear on AEW TV. In the immediate aftermath of Jay Briscoe suddenly passing away, fans were quick to assume that AEW and Tony Khan wouldn't waste any time at all dedicating a show to the Ring of Honor legend. However, it soon became clear that Warner Bros. Discovery still weren't happy with the idea of the Briscoes appearing on Dynamite on the back of homophobic tweets Jay posted back in 2013 that he ultimately publicly apologized for on numerous occasions down the road. So Khan and his team were prevented from giving Jay the AEW tribute he definitely deserved, until TK decided not to let the matter rest and push really hard for the much-loved performer to get a proper all-elite send-off on January 25th Dynamite, that is. Again, Warner Bros. Discovery was said to be dead set against the concept of a Jay tribute, but Tony wouldn't stop until the veteran was given the respect he deserved on live television. What followed was one of the most touching video packages you're ever likely to see, and a fitting tribute to the late star in the form of brother Mark and Jay Lethal's main event battle. And the fact that Mark is now free to appear on AEW programming going forward is another small flicker of light to take from an otherwise heartbreaking situation. Number 2, Mercedes Moné arrives in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Heading into Wrestle Kingdom 17, most were very much aware that a certain boss was New Japan Pro Wrestling bound. Yet that still couldn't prepare folks for the entirely surreal visual of the one-time Sasha Banks strutting into the Tokyo Dome before challenging Kairi to an IWGP Women's Championship match in February. This was a crossover WWE horsewoman who once seemed destined to play out the rest of her impressive run in between the ropes under the Sports Entertainment banner. And even after the former SmackDown, Raw and NXT Women's Champion walked out on Vince McMahon's company in May, many still felt it would only be a matter of time before Banks' epic theme music blared through their speakers once again. But here she was, living her best free agent life and making the bold move of betting on herself as the unquestionable big money superstar Mercedes Moné definitely is. And should the former WWE top performer go on to bigger and better things during her spell away from her longtime employer, perhaps other notable WWE names will consider following in the CEO's footsteps in the not too distant future too. Watch this space and the money. Number 1, Vince McMahon returns to WWE. For a second there, it genuinely felt as though a new WWE era was on the verge of becoming a slightly hopeful reality. Admittedly, the new regime hasn't been all perfect and Papa H is still very much trying to figure out how to properly drive this colossal main roster machine, but morale was at an absolute high, interest in the product was growing by the week, and the ratings were either holding steady or even gradually increasing. And then the depressingly inevitable happened. After resigning in disgrace last July on the back of it being reported that he paid millions in company money to suppress allegations of sexual misconduct, Vince McMahon made his return to WWE in early January. And despite claiming that he was merely returning as chairman of the board in order to help handle the renegotiating of WWE's media rights deals and a potential sale of the company, the fact Vince, who still boasts majority voting power in the company, reportedly claimed that he'd refuse to greenlight any sales or deals unless he was brought back into the mix, pretty much forced WWE to accommodate this landscape-changing comeback. Stephanie McMahon would ultimately step away from WWE in the wake of her father's return, calm down sit-down meetings were soon held by a Triple H who is likely fearing the worst should Vince begin to turn his attention back towards Gorilla before long, and what was once looking like an exciting new chapter for the biggest wrestling company on the planet now looks like one that is about to experience a few more unwanted twists before the year is out. Let's just get to WrestleMania, yeah? Please? And that is our list. Know of any other recent wrestling moments that shook the world? Then please let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this lovely video today. Hopefully I'll see your faces very, very soon, but in the meantime, be good to yourself because you all rad. Bye bye.